Good afternoon. Welcome once again to the Schmidt Show here on News Radio 1029 KARN. I am your host, Brad Schmidt. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KARN, 501-403-5276. Playing with the camera here on the live feed. If you want to follow along on Twitter, if you want to follow along on our website, newsradio1029.com, all you got to do is click on actually, you don't even have to click on it. You just hover over the on-demand tab, and a little drop-down box will drop down, and you just click on Karn TV, and you can see me and my ugly mug as I sit here in the studio, and we talk a little bit about what is going on and what we need to talk about and what you ought to know. And so let's do it. We've got a lot to get into today. Of course, over the weekend, a lot happened, and still happening today. Political rallies. We got Kamala Harris essentially bragging about being a communist dictator. So I've actually got audio of her bragging about simply seizing private property. Just saying, well, we don't like the way you're doing it, so we're going to take over, and we can do it, and there's nothing you can do to stop us, and we don't care because we're commie dictators. We've actually got audio of Kamala Harris bragging about stealing and the government takeover of private property. So we'll get into that discussion because this is, again, every time the media says, she's not a communist, she's just a progressive, blah, blah, blah. No. She's genuinely touting communist socialist ideology. The government seizure of private property. Out of her mouth, her words, I'll play the audio if you don't believe me. She brags about seizing patents, stealing people's intellectual property, and simply allowing the government to take it. And we can do it. Nothing you can do to stop us. Yes, we can, she said. So we'll get into that because that's a big discussion. Of course, locally, a little bit, kind of a story that I've noticed is flying under the radar. Last Friday, I think it was Friday anyway, I think it was the 16th. Anyway, last week sometime, Little Rock School Superintendent Jermal Wright announced his resignation. And I want to talk a little bit about this because he only lasted 2 years. And when you read the statement, his announcement of his resignation, it's kind of one of those typical vague announcements. You know, I'm proud of the work I've done. I'm proud of the work they've done. And I'm proud of everything that everybody's done. And we're all awesome. And you should be glad that we were all here for the last 2 years. But I'm leaving now. And I'm leaving because I think, these people need somebody better to work with. They need somebody that they're able, that's more aligned with them. And it's just a very vague kind of statement. So I want to talk a little bit about that. What does any of this mean? And I started asking myself the question, do we really need a school superintendent? Do we need, we've got, at every level of leadership, there's somebody that reports to somebody else, all the way up to Governor Sanders in the education. And it seems to me that we could eliminate a lot of these positions and simply allow the individual leaders of the schools, the principals, to do their job and run their schools. Do we need a person in between the Department of Education, between the Secretary of Education or whatever it is at the state level? Do we really need a person in between there and an undersecretary and a executive assistant to the undersecretary to the secretary of the elected whatever? We've got all these layers of leadership. It seems to me that we could have a Department of Education if we even need that, but at the state level, a Department of Education, whoever the head of that Department of Education is, it can essentially take on the role of the overall superintendents. Are superintendents really necessary? Because we have Little Rock School District, and We've got one guy over all of them. Then each school has their own individual principal and probably an assistant principal or vice principal or whatever title they have. And then certainly assistants to the vice principal and assistants to the principal and 800 other secretaries and support staff for each one of those. Seems like we could just eliminate that level altogether. Now, it's only a $250,000 salary, but across however many school districts there are in the state of Arkansas, I'm guessing we could save a good 30 or 40 or $50 million in salaries and benefits for district superintendents. Just get rid of them. Are they even necessary? Let the Department of Education, the school boards themselves, let them manage it. Let them deal with it. It seems to me that this may be a completely useless position. Now, I may be wrong. I've never worked in education. I don't have a degree in education, but I just got to thinking about it over the weekend. I was like, what does the superintendent actually do? Are they a liaison between the board and the principals? Are they actually doing any work? As far as directing the education of students in any significant way? Or are they just a person sitting behind a desk feeling important and telling people that they're leading? Because I feel like the principals can manage their own schools individually without the oversight of a superintendent. Feels to me that the board of education or the local school boards can work with the principals individually. Maybe puts a little bit more work on the principal's plate, but I don't know. It seems to me that maybe we just say, yeah, we're not going to replace him. And I'm not saying we fire them all. I'm just saying as they retire, just eliminate their positions. Becomes a war of attrition. And not long, you don't have any district superintendents and you've got $20 million or $30 million back in the state budget that could be better spent on individual students. I don't know. Can't be any worse than what's going on with the education system today. Sorry, going a little bit long on that. We got that one. And speaking of schools, I want to talk a little bit about school shootings because I saw another post about school shootings. And of course, schools back in session now. We're heading back into the school year. Some schools have already started up. And I saw somebody post something about their daughter going into 5th grade, didn't want light up shoes. And allegedly, the parent says that the reason their daughter didn't want light up shoes in going into 5th grade is because she was afraid that if she has light up shoes and there's a school shooting, that she would be a more easy target for school shooters because she's got light up shoes. Now, I don't know about you, but in 5th grade, if anybody in my class at 5th grade at 12 years old was still wearing light up shoes, they were going to be bullied. Now, we can argue all day long whether that's acceptable or appropriate or not, but that's just the reality. If you were 12 years old and you had light up shoes, if you were near a teenager and you had light up shoes, you were going to get bullied. You were going to get made fun of. You were going to get teased and mocked for being a child. Because, of course, everybody knows that middle schoolers in 5th grade are way, way, way too mature for light up shoes. So there's that. But on the other side of it, I started doing a little bit of looking at the numbers. I started doing a little bit of digging. And what I found was that your child is about 8 gazillion times more likely to be molested by a teacher than they are to be a victim of a school shooting. And so we'll get to talk about that a little bit. Over the weekend, announcement from the Trump campaign that they are going to go heavy policy push for the Trump campaign leading into the battleground states, so certainly during the DNC and moving forward, which is exactly what I have been calling for, what I've been hoping they will do, and I hope they stick to that because that is exactly 1,000% the right choice. Policy heavy. Go on the offensive. Here's how we are going to solve the actual problems that are facing real people. So kudos to the Trump campaign for making that a priority. I hope they stick with it. The DNC, of course, kicking off this week in Chicago. It's already an absolute clown show. Businesses boarded up, protesters already rushing the stage, and a whole lot more. The Biden crime family, we got an update about their millions and millions of dollars in foreign business acumen. They're making millions off of Joe Biden's contacts in the world. So we'll get into that as well and a whole lot more right here on News Radio 102.9 KRN.